Yo, pull up a chair, let the real talk begin. Faith on the table where the brothers lock in. Life gets heavy, but we stand our ground. Truth in the room when the circle comes round. No mask, no front, just real man here. Talking about faith through the doubt and the fear. From the grind of the week to the lessons we share. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair. Men's round table series, step inside. Real men, real faith where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair.
Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series Spotlight. I'm your host, Mr. U. If you're watching us for the very first time, thanks again for making us part of your week. We're live on YouTube and Facebook as we speak. And of course, you can find all of our shows across all social media platforms and everywhere you get your podcast from. If you were not aware of this show is a sister show to our Men's Roundtable Series podcast, which is a panelist-based show. Every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. EST, you are always welcome to be a part of that conversation. Anything that has to do with men and men's issues, we talk about it very transparently, very thoughtfully. What we're doing this show is more of a one-on-one conversation with fathers, husbands, brothers, and sons who have those same challenges, and perhaps those that are listening can learn from it. So that's what we're doing today. We have author of The Good Grief Travel, Derrik Dyka is with us today. Derrik, good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, man. I really appreciate this, man. All right, so I want to get into the conversation for today. First, thanks again for being here and being a part of this. We got an all-male audience for the most part. We got women that are listening to us. They always sneak in and bring some thoughts and comments sometimes, but I'm excited about getting into some of your story, man. First off, my condolences. You lost your wife of 24 years, man. Can't even imagine what that's like, man. The isolation and the grief are things that I'm sure you had to be challenged with. How do you believe, because you emphasize travel a lot in your bio and in your history, how did travel help you to process the grief after losing your wife?
I was just really stuck, and I've been self-employed my whole life, so I didn't return to work and have a normal rhythm. So I was at home. We have twin boys they're 24 now, but they were in their senior year of college. And when my wife was diagnosed with cancer, the school approved them to come home and finish the semester from home. So it was the three of us, my son, my two sons, and myself at home. And my son Gavin was really kind of pushing me out the door. He's like, I had started swimming for fitness 5 or 6 years ago. And he just said, go somewhere, go swim, because I was doing open water swimming in the ocean. So he was just pushing me. He said, go be James Bond, go do something cool. And his brother was very supportive too, but Gavin just kept talking to me about getting out. And I think I strayed from your question, but it was my sons that said, you got to get out of here. And I bought round trip tickets to Tokyo. I thought I was going to end up in Bali, which I was told was a healing place. And I kind of found my way through Asia a number of times, but I ended up in the islands in the Philippines, and it was a major transition for myself.
You didn't stray from the question at all, man. You were kind of just sharing your heart about what it was like after losing your wife, man, especially to be married so long, man. Was there anything that you feel like you had to do, I guess, as far as being a rock for your sons? It's not like your sons were kind of being a rock for you, but you feel like you had to be that for them to kind of help them to understand some things, answer some questions that may be deep philosophical questions. Do you feel like that was a avenue you had to go during this time?
I felt the pressure of that I needed to be this strong dad, and that's not the way it worked out at all. I had been the strong father for 20 plus years and a good guide, and when this happened, the roles completely reversed. And then it's almost 3 years now that she's been gone, and wow. Very cohesive with the boys, but they're definitely my source of strength now. It's not the other way around. It's very strange how that changed. Yeah.
Sounds like it is. I talk to a lot of folks. I don't know what it is about my profile, but I get a lot of guests who are not just into travel. Travel has become their life. They travel almost as with such regularity And I just wonder, for you personally, people might say, oh, he might be traveling to kind of get away from familiar things. I don't want to make that assumption, but what I want to ask you today is, what did you learn about community and connection and the importance of that through the travels?
Yeah, so I could talk about this for a few hours, but I feel like the value of community is a little bit lost in the United States, to be honest. We're so polarized. I don't want to get into politics, but there's two sides to this coin, and there's no middle ground anymore. Uh, and I feel like it's not even a safe place to speak your mind. And I've been to 17 countries in the last 3 years, almost everywhere. I find people are very open. They're curious. They wonder what they read in the newspaper. Is that for real? Or probably not the newspaper so much anymore, but online.
Yeah.
But I mean, I spend a lot of time in China. I spend a lot of time in Thailand. And I would say mostly in China, I could be walking down the street and people will just approach me and ask questions. It's not uncommon to have dinner or a meal or be at a coffee shop and talk to someone almost daily. You could be at a restaurant in Thailand and strike up a conversation with the table next to you. And I feel like that's really hard to do in the United States, certainly in the Midwest where I have been the last many years. But for there, it's a daily occurrence. I also think, the white picket fence and at least what I grew up with, that was the aspiration in the United States. Like that's all about division. And I think a lot of people don't know their neighbor's name anymore.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
And now there's restaurants that know my order. I've only been there a few times. I was just in Shanghai, China. I tend to stay at a hotel for 4 days and then go to a next one. It was my third day at this cafe. I walked in. They don't speak English. And the first thing the woman said to me was cappuccino, as she knew what I was going to order. And I'm like, that feels like home, man. I don't know how to say that any better, but you're part of the community already, even though it's just a simple order. But to be recognized and seen, and the density of those cities where, in the United States, I think you could spend a day and see maybe 10 people, depending on what your life looks like. But in Asia, most of the world, the cities are so dense. You see 200 or 300 people in an afternoon just from commuting to wherever you happen to go. And I think just knowing there are other people out there, it helps you understand that you're not the only one. Not necessarily even going through a hard time, but just understanding there's other opinions, there's other ways of life. When you see 200 or 300 pairs of eyes, sometimes you might meet eyes or see a smile. It's totally different than being in your home and binge watching Netflix and never knowing your neighbor's name.
Yeah. There seems to be a common thread when I talk to people about travel. It always seems to be international. And this is not an attack on you. I just want to just ask deep questions because that's kind of what I do on our shows. And I just want to continue that trend. Do you feel as though you have potentially maybe misjudged areas of the country that can provide some of those same kind of feels and experiences? Is there a reason why you think you haven't explored that as much as being out of the country?
Yeah. Well, I've traveled a lot in my life, and to be honest with you, I didn't give a lot of places a lot of chances in the United States, and there was a few reasons. One, when I initially started traveling, I wanted to do some open water swimming. It was really close to Halloween, and I wanted to go somewhere warm. And I know there's some places that I could have done that in the U.S., but it just sounded much more appealing to go somewhere new that I had never been. And so that was what started it. My wife happened to be Chinese, and I think it was my second or third trip. I wanted to find my way back to her village, which I had been to once before.
That's awesome.
It was very rural, very hard to find. But after my wife passed away, we made these. We didn't do a headstone because we didn't want to leave her in Minnesota. That our goal, my wife and my goal, was to leave Minnesota and move to Colorado. So I didn't want to leave her behind, and I made 500 of these river rocks. They're engraved on both sides. I had them at the Celebration of Life, and I asked people to take one or two or however many you want and leave it somewhere. And my wife loved travel more than I ever did. And the goal was to leave those all over the world, which is kind of what's happened. And so as I had been traveling, I was leaving them behind in places that I find beautiful myself. And I just made a goal for whatever reason to return one to her village. And so I kept finding my way back to various places in Asia. And I live in Bangkok now, so that's my hub. There's 2 international airports. It's cheap. The cost of living is another thing. It's
I've
much
heard.
it's much more affordable.
I've heard about that.
You can live really well, for a lot less money.
Well, I think just by the fact that you shared about your wife's culture and where she's from, this makes a lot more sense to me now. Now I understand why you feel drawn to specific areas of the world. So that makes total sense. Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate this.
Sure.
I don't know how to ask this question where it doesn't sound heavy, but I'll do my best. When your wife passed away, obviously you were grieving. I mean, this is your best friend of 24 years. So, I mean, you did life together quite literally. Was there a harder part of the grieving process for you? Was it, things that you would do only with you and her? Or would it be her presence in the household with your children? What was it that you were struggling with the most with her not being there?
My wife and I were very independent and very driven people. So we planned an early retirement, and we were really just kind of 2 years short of our plan. We were going to sell most of everything and buy a mountain home in Colorado and just kind of work part-time, whatever we figured out we would want to do. And when she was gone, it was like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like the entire plan evaporated, and the lack of direction, honestly, was horrible. Yeah, and trying to figure out what is the new direction. Can I even do it? My sons have been an amazing part of that, but the loss of knowing, we worked together for 24 years, and we knew what we were going to be doing, and for that to go out the window was just devastating on so many levels. I can't even describe. But now to have a mountain home sounds horribly isolating and lonely to me. And it would have been amazing with her. We'd have coffee on the deck and a beer in the afternoon, and enjoy our time. And now I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I could handle it. Yeah, it would be awful to be so lonely. I never liked dense cities, and here I am, like in one of the most international dense cities in the world, and I thrive there. So I've changed a lot.
Yeah. Get that. You talk a lot about grief and loneliness, and I think people, especially men, I think we underestimate the impact of that. There's so many things in our lives, so many things that even narratives that people put on us as men that nudge us toward isolation. What do you think is one of the lies that men tell themselves that keep them trapped in that place of loneliness and isolation? What do you think is one of those lies that men tell themselves about it?
I think it has a lot to do with just being strong and tough, and having that wall of like emotionless kind of, or not sharing your feelings. It's not exactly who I am. I'm a pretty open person, but I did shut down, and honestly, I was tired of how frequently my sons were seeing me cry after my wife died, and
Oh,
it was. I'm not answering your question very well, but those were the thoughts
no,
that come to
you
mind.
could, man. Keep sharing, man. You're fine.
But I think it's hard to be open with too many people. I think we're so guarded as men, and afraid of what's going to come back. I listened to your roundtable the other day, and the people were concerned about things they say being weaponized against them, and
Yeah.
they're not wrong, but at some point you got to say, if the people in my life are weaponizing things against me, they're probably the wrong people to be in your life. And no criticism, but my wife was not a very nice person when we first got married. We had our problems, and she said some really mean shit, and after the third or fourth time, I just looked at her and I said, these are things you say to someone you hate, not someone you love. So you can decide, like, but that's not okay. It's not going to work for me. And she listened, you know, she heard me. And I think that a little bit was culture, you know, they just lash out. And that stopped, you know, it was 23 years of none of that. But
Wow.
I was very open. But you know, we all have our weak moments and we say things that we don't mean to say. We had a drink or two more than we should have. That's all. It's happened, right? At every age. And, but yeah, I think we just have to be open to who we are and sharing how we feel. And if that's getting used against us, it's the wrong people in our lives, I think.
Absolutely. It's very poignant, man. Just two more questions I want to try to get in before we close out for today. So what inspired you to write Good Grief Travel? Was it just the experience of losing your wife, or was there a reason why you thought this had to be written?
You know, I've kind of lived a strange life, I suppose. I've said yes to a lot of things that most people wouldn't. And I mean, I never thought of myself as a risk taker. It's very calculated risks, but I take a lot of risks. And so I have a buddy. It's a strange relationship. He's one of my closest friends, and yet we don't really know each other that well. But we have lunch probably 5 or 6 times a year, and he's usually the one encouraging me to get together for lunch. And he's like, you always have the most amazing stories, and I can't believe the shit you've done in your life. Like, it's so crazy. Like, you did what now? And it was really him telling me the decisions I've made in my life are so interesting. So I started documenting that, and then I wanted to leave something behind for my sons. So it was a combination of that, and I did it for my wife, frankly. But I'm hoping that people can see, I mean, the story that I'm wanting to share, and hopefully the takeaway is, you know, I was sunk, and somehow I found a door and I made my way through it. A lot of that was from my sons, and I think a lot of men and women are, you know, they get stuck. So there are doors out there. It's figuring out where it is and how to walk through it.
Love that. Firstly, thanks again for being a part of this conversation and sharing about the grief and the heartbreak and the growth that you endured, man. Thank you for coming on and doing this, man.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Love it. Just one final question for you, and then we'll go ahead and let folks know where they can find you and your work. So if a man is watching this right now, which I'm sure they are, if not live on replay, I'm sure they're hearing this right now, and their entire world fell apart, kind of like yours did, whether it was death or betrayal of some sort, whether it was some kind of divorce or something that was a hardship. What's the truth that you think they need to hear that they probably don't want to hear? After you share that, let folks know where they can find you.
Wow, that's tough, man. I just think it's figuring out we all have options, and I think we close our eyes to those options, and especially as times get dark, it seems like a smaller and smaller world. But you know, if you're trapped, like, buy a 6-pack and bring it to your neighbor, mow your neighbor's lawn without him asking, and see what happens. Like, the door that's going to open there is amazing. So I think just taking those chances, I took a different door. I flew across the world, and that worked for me. But I think the message really, hopefully, is there's lots of ways to build your own community and your own support system, and figuring out how to find it, how to do that door that works for you.
Definitely. Community definitely heals in ways that isolation cannot, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Let folks know where they can find you and your work, Derek. Thank you for your time today. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have everything on my website. It's goodgrieftravel.com. I have a book on Amazon called Good Grief Travel, of all things. I don't do much on social media, to be honest, but yeah, I've got some life tips on my website, and how to prepare, how to make things easier for your family if you happen to leave them, meaning death. And my book, which hopefully the story is interesting to people. So thank you again for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I definitely appreciate it, man. Author of Good Grief Travel, Derrik Dyka is here. And if you're watching for the very first time and you're hearing this story, it's impacting you at all, goodgrieftravel.com. You can definitely share your story with Derrik. He'd love to share more of his with you, or his work that he has with his book, Good Grief Travel. If you want to just reach out to us and just kind of just share what's going on in your life regarding this, we're definitely open to hear that. We're a show that definitely embraces our community. So thanks again for being part of the conversation, wherever you are and however you're watching this. That's Derrick. That's Mr. You, excuse me. Grateful to have you here. Have a great day.
Men's Roundtable Series, step inside. Real men, real faith, where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the Men's Roundtable, pull up a chair.